Hi, it's Dr. Parikh. I'm back to talk you through the syllabus for PS 213, Writing and Psychology, and I'm off to a stellar start. So here I am in my Blackboard page. I am using Mozilla Firefox, which is Blackboard is literally the only thing I use Firefox for. You can see I hit home, it goes there eventually, because Blackboard is designed for Mozilla. I know nothing else in the world is. It's crazy, but that's how it works. My Blackboard is going to look just a little different from yours because I have the instructor view, but it's going to be pretty close. So there's a few ways to get to the syllabus. You can go to course information. I also like to keep it sort of a one-click button right here. And it takes you to the same place. So you can download the Word document. I may actually upload a PDF instead. Maybe I'll make that the link that the syllabus goes to, because I think it's nice to be able to just view it in the, to just be able to view the syllabus right in the web browser. Word documents always download. So if you look here, up top is just general information. This is going to be updated based on what semester you take it. So always check my office hours, which are also under instructor information. So we come over here, it goes through the course description. And this course is really about scientific writing, which is different from the writing you're probably used to. And also about APA style, so how to write the way APA wants you to write. This class is very, very applied. There's no tests. The quizzes are kind of quizzes. It's mostly about actually sitting down and doing the writing, getting feedback and doing more writing, and making a plan, getting feedback on the plan, and doing more writing. You can see there's 3 books. So the first one is Tsukemen Writing with Style, and I forgot to be prepared, but luckily I happen to have it on my desk. So this is what the Tsukemen book looks like. This is about writing in general, how to write, but it's specific to psychology and APA, which is nice. And each time you do a reading in this book, there's also a video in Blackboard where I'm going to talk you through what I want to add on to what Tsukemen says, what I disagree with, or how I think things will play out in this course. The next book that's required is Mastering APA, the Student's Workbook. I actually don't have that one at my fingertips. That one's about the size of a sheet of paper, and it is orange on the front and it's spiral bound. And that's a workbook that you'll actually mark up in pencil. So you need your own copy of it, but it's not terribly expensive. I think it's less than $30, or maybe it's $30 list price. Remember, for books, you don't necessarily need to buy them in the bookstore. You can buy them anywhere you want. For these, I have no idea. I would get the current edition for the Tsukemen book because APA style does change. It changed a little bit ago, so I don't know what the 5th edition is, and it's not terribly expensive either. I think it's in the maybe $30 to $40 range. The last book you need is the Concise Rules of APA Style, and there's actually 2 different types you can get for APA manual. You can get the blue one, which is the full manual, or you can get this red-ish Concise Rules. I would get spiral bound either way, because then it lays flat on the desk. This is a book I highly recommend that you actually purchase and actually keep. You can also get the Concise Rules for Kindle. I have both. It's actually, if you buy it Kindle, you have to pay the $30. You don't get any sort of discount, whereas you can often find the Concise Rules at a discount in print. And so this is the Concise Rules, that's something you're going to keep. And I've told all the other psych instructors, I'm requiring students to buy this. And so this is something you can expect students to have going forward. There's a lot of online guides. They can tell you all the basics, but it is good to have a copy of the actual book. In a lot of ways, I do like the full manual a little better. I think the detail is a little better. And the way that I refer to things is they have a numbering style. So they'll have like 4.09 is policy on metrication, because everybody needs a policy on metrication. And so I don't really refer to page numbers. I refer more to these points. So you can do okay with either copy of the book, either the blue full style manual or the red Concise rules. I think they're really similar price points, but the Concise rules, I mean, it's smaller, it fits in your bag easier, it's a little less intimidating maybe. So that's the one I chose to use for this. That's this one. The last thing, for this class, I am requiring that you have access to Microsoft Word. You already have access as a Caldwell student. You can go to the library, you can go to the computer labs to use Microsoft Word. Pages, and especially Google Docs, they just do not play nice, and it's just always a fight. And so I have gone to requiring Word. You can upload things in PDFs, but Word is it's better for writing these papers. I'm a Mac user. I love Macs. I love Google. I love Google Docs. For college writing in APA style, though, you really need Microsoft Word. It's just the way it is. The good news is you can get it extremely cheaply. I think it's maybe $15, maybe $10 through Caldwell University. And they offer it for Mac and PC. So you need to get it. You need to have access to it. It's just what you got to do to be competitive in college. I'm not going to require that you purchase it, but I am going to say you just have to have access to it. If you're willing to go to the computer labs so that you don't have to buy it or download it or get a computer that can run it, I don't care, as long as you just make it work. Next, you can go through the course goals. So it's focused on a couple pieces. First, information literacy skills, so being able to find and use articles, including finding, evaluating, and using psychological research. So this is the part where you're looking up articles, you're reading them and understanding them, and you understand how to use them as part of your paper. Goal 2, students will understand the process of writing a literature review paper and a research paper in APA style. In the welcome, I said, you're kind of writing 2 papers, but it's kind of just one big paper. That's what I mean. First, you're going to write a literature review paper. Then you're going to take big chunks of that paper and transform it into a research proposal. So you're kind of adding on to it, expanding it, updating it to fit this new format. And we'll talk as we go about the difference between those two. And it's broken into so many steps, it's almost ridiculous. When you look at the number of assignments, you're going to say, yes, Dr. Parikh, that is ridiculous. Students will enhance their understanding of the writing process. This paper is going to be different than any other paper you've written, in part because you're going to do steps that you may have known you were supposed to do, but probably didn't often do, and likely some steps you didn't know you were supposed to do, you didn't know existed. You're also going to do, we're going to talk about how do you revise, how do you use feedback to make your paper better. That's a big part of this course, which also feeds into the late policy that I'll talk about later. You're going to complete peer review. This course has a lot of looking at your peers' work and giving them feedback. And that's for a few reasons. Number one, I can only be so many places at one time. And so even though you're going to get feedback from me on every assignment, it's nice to be able to get feedback from your peers too. Reason number 2 is that I think it's really helpful to see problems that you're not having right now, but that you'll probably have in the future. It's a good heads up on what kinds of things can go wrong. Reason number 3, it's nice to see other ways of doing things. It'll give you ideas. It'll make you a better writer. Students are often really nervous about peer review. They don't like the idea of it, but in this class consistently, the vast majority of students tell me afterward, that was really helpful. And so I keep it in. And I really structure the way you do peer reviews so that you're not, because I find when I just tell people, okay, exchange papers, mark them up, give them back, students don't really know what to do. So I have forms that that help you know what to look for and know how to give feedback. And if you are great at grammar and can give feedback about grammar, that's wonderful. If you can read and can say, hey, I got confused here, that's still really good for peer feedback. And the last one is about plagiarism. We'll talk about plagiarism. Early on, you're going to do a few assignments around plagiarism. You actually don't get to do week 2's assignments until I'm happy with the way you finished week 1's plagiarism, because I think it's so important. I do report, especially word for word plagiarism, I report pretty consistently, especially if it gets to the final paper. I will certainly report it. I sometimes report it before that if it's kind of egregious, meaning it's really just bad. So I take it seriously. It's something I report. It's something that I will certainly mark off for, even if it doesn't rise to the level of a report to the university. It's because I care so much about it. I think it's really important, and I don't think it's fair to students who are playing by the rules if nothing happens. And so I take it really seriously, so I work really hard to make sure that you understand what it is on the front end. And if we can't talk about it in this class, then when on earth can we talk about it? We also talk throughout the entire course about how to avoid plagiarism, because I do have students who I believe genuinely didn't mean to plagiarize. A big place plagiarism happens is when you take bad notes. You think you're putting your notes in your own words, but surprise, surprise, you copied directly from the article when you made your notes. That's why the notes have to be completely in your own words, because it's too easy to get mixed up. And I've had that happen with students before. And it's, plagiarism, certainly I don't want you to intentionally plagiarize, but part of being in college and being responsible for your own academic performance is that I hold you responsible for being conscientious throughout. So even if I believe it was negligence, meaning you just weren't paying enough attention, that's still a pretty big problem. So plagiarism is a big part of, knowing how to avoid plagiarism, knowing what plagiarism is. That's a big part of the writing process too. And then we have goals for the department. We always care about you understanding psychology in general. In this class, you get to learn about whatever you want in psychology. Picking a good topic is important. Also, this is just one class. This doesn't have to be, an expression of your truest self or anything. But it's important to have a topic you like, and there's a lot of things. Like I said, one of my developing interests is tattoos around grief. And so if I were starting all over as a grad student picking a dissertation topic, I would probably do something with tattoos and grief because it seems really interesting and cool to me. We'll apply basic research methods in psychology. You're going to learn a lot very quickly about research methods. It'll make it easier as you hit stats and experimental psych, but it's essential for being able to understand your papers and being able to write your own research proposal. And last, students will use critical thinking skills. You're going to really, you're going to look at those strengths and limitations. You're going to think about how ideas fit together. What does this idea and that idea, when you take them together, what does it say? And that's where the creative part of writing comes in, because you're combining ideas in a way nobody else has. Even though you're not collecting your own data, you're not doing your own research per se, there's still a lot to it. I just realized, let me use my screen space a little better. Let me blow this up so you can focus in a little bit. Also, I highly recommend that when you watch these videos, you watch them on your computer with a document open. Be an active consumer of these videos. They're often meant to walk you through step by step to teach you how to use the resources. And so really, don't just sit back and watch the video and then sit and do the assignment. That's kind of a waste of your time. So make sure you have the syllabus out and are marking down any questions you want to email me about or come into office hours for. So course requirements, you're going to use Blackboard. Everything is going to be submitted through Blackboard. I don't take things through email because when I do, they get lost. It's no good. So I only accept things through Blackboard. You can send me messages in Blackboard. I do prefer messages to be through email because that gets to me fastest. And there's a key which is called my phone. Email gets responded to fastest if I can do it on my phone. We'll talk about that in a minute. Make sure that you keep access to Blackboard. Don't let your password expire. Not a good situation because you have to go to IT. It takes time. So make sure you're changing your password when you're supposed to. Use Mozilla Firefox. I literally downloaded Firefox just so I could build this course, because I usually use Chrome, even though I say not to, but this time for some reason Chrome just kept giving me issues. Firefox is a lot better. I didn't pick it, but it's free. I literally just use it for Blackboard. There may be times when you have your assignment ready, but you cannot get Blackboard to cooperate. It's an online class, and that's a class requirement. And so it's not in until it's in, and it needs to be in the right file format with all the right files attached. Make sure that you are saving regularly. I've certainly had 2 a.m. file crashes where I cried myself to sleep and tried again in the morning at 5 or 6 a.m. Make sure you save regularly. Save things in more than one place. I also once washed a USB drive, or did I wash it? Or I think that one just died suddenly. But my dissertation was on a flash drive and it died. And that's when I started using Dropbox for everything. Email it to yourself occasionally. Be a smart consumer of technology. There's also a lot of basic fixes. When Blackboard isn't playing nice, log in and out, close your browser completely and restart it. Don't just close the window, quit the browser, restart it. Restart your computer, try someone else's computer. Just give it an hour, go back and try again. And so I understand that these things happen. You can also always come to office hours. I will help you until we get it figured out, or whatever, if you come to office hours. But that means coming, planning ahead, having things ready to submit early. I certainly am not available at 11:30 at night to help you by phone or whatever. I will be sleeping if all goes well. If things are going well in my life, I will be sleeping. If I am not sleeping, things are not in a position for me to help you anyway. All assignments need to be either Word files or PDFs. I'm pretty sure there's no exceptions to that, but if there is an exception, I'll say it pretty clearly. There's an important reason for that. Those are the files that show up well in Blackboard's viewing pane. So after you submit a file to submit an assignment on Blackboard, it should pop up on the screen, and if you wait long enough for the file to process, you can actually look at what you're submitting. I'm also, for that workbook that you actually write in the workbook and learn APA style as you go, you will upload PDFs of those instead of photos, because photos I have to download and open. PDFs just show up in the window. It makes it so much better for me to grade. And so what I recommend doing is just downloading a free PDF converter app on your phone. So it'll be just 1 or 2 extra steps than taking a picture. You never have to take more than 3 pictures for an assignment. So it's not too bad. And I don't want to recommend any particular app. There's lots of them that work. And so I do include a link that will, that kind of is a review of different ones. Again, I don't want to recommend a specific one, but you got to upload everything in Microsoft Word or PDF. And there are a few times that I do specify that I want it in Microsoft Word. Always make sure the file's uploaded. It's really up to you. You can always check. You can go to My Grades. Let me switch over to Firefox. You can click My Grades. Nothing's going to show up for me because I'm the instructor. Oh, it actually shows up now. Usually it just tells me nothing. But you can see here it shows me that I have opened some of these quizzes, so it shows it is in progress. This is the blue screen of death for Blackboard. It means you're not submitted yet. I'm not going to worry about that right now. But you should be able to look and see, it should be a little yellow circle with an exclamation point that says that it's submitted. And every time grades come in, come back here to the same place. Stop trying to go there. And you will be able to see if there's a little bubble. That means that there's, like I wrote you a comment. You should also always check the rubrics. Almost every assignment you turn in for here will have a rubric, and that's so that I can give you a lot of feedback really quickly. So it's your responsibility to check for feedback. I also will leave comments in the viewing pane. So you should always go and look at a document. Even if you think you've seen all the feedback, always actually look at the assignment after it's been graded, because not all of the feedback shows up in the My Grades. You'll be able to just kind of click and go to the assignment. right, course structure, 7 one-week units. You'll do things every week. It moves quickly. It moves really quickly the first couple weeks. There's really no slow easing in. But what you'll find is near the end, there's a lot, things kind of slow down then. And that's to give you plenty of time to actually do final revisions on your paper. Class discussion. Most of your discussion will happen with your reading group, which will be a group of 5 or 6 people that you will go through the readings with. That group is the same group that will give you your that you'll do peer review with most of the time. There's a couple big peer reviews that you'll exchange with kind of a stranger so that you get fresh eyes on it. Because your reading group is going to be really familiar with your topic by the end because they've helped you with a lot of parts of it. Basically, be a nice person. And you are often, I often tell you to give critical feedback. That means like critical thinking, like really evaluating things. That doesn't mean you have to be mean and nasty or that you have to only say what's wrong. You can also say what's going well. And I will pop in on those once a week. You will have about once a week, you'll have a full class discussion. Late policies. So this course is really dependent on this cycle of you writing something, me giving you feedback, and then you either revising or expanding, like you might write an outline. I give you feedback on the outline and whether your ideas, whether you're on the right track. Then you actually write it into a draft and I grade the draft. So you need to get my feedback on the outline so you can effectively write the draft. That means it's really important to stay on time, to keep up with assignments. And so for every assignment that I have in the course, the late policy is the same. If it's late, meaning, usually that means by the time I get up the next morning. So if it's like 2 a.m., I'm usually not too fussy, but if it's like 10 a.m. the next morning, that's definitely going to be considered late. So if it's late, it's best to get it in on time. You need your sleep anyway. But at any rate, so if it's late, the first week you get 50%. So I'll go through the rubric, I'll see what you would have gotten, and then you'll get half of that. If it's a second week, so if it's a week and then some, you get a quarter of whatever you would have gotten. And so this way, if you do miss a deadline, it's still worth doing the work, it's still worth keeping up, but get things in on time if at all possible, because this bites hard. If you have me in other classes, I usually am a little more generous, especially with papers, but in this class, it moves so quickly. It moves twice as quickly, and you need the feedback from me. And the thing is, I'm going to set aside grading time the day after things are due. So Sunday night deadlines, I'm going to have almost always plenty of time set aside on Monday to grade. Tuesday and Wednesday, on the other hand, I might not have time to sit down and grade. And so if you're turning things in Monday evening, it might not get graded until Thursday when I'm sitting down to grade what should have been done Wednesday night. So it's really going to throw you off. It's going to throw me off. It's going to cause a lot of problems if you're turning things in late pretty often. And no assignments will be accepted more than 2 weeks late. That's like a month in a normal class. So that's a really long time in terms of how far ahead we would have moved in class. Make sure that your assignment is correctly submitted. It's late if it's not there ready for me to grade, meaning in Blackboard, in the right file format, showing up in the viewing pane with everything attached. Email. I love email. I also have some boundaries around email. For example, I typically don't check my email in evenings and on weekends. When I do check it in the evening and on the weekends, it's usually on my phone, which is why I say the key to getting a really quick response is to ask me a very clear, specific question, something that I can respond to in about 1 sentence on my phone. One of the reasons is I just think it's important to model for you what it looks like to have boundaries between work and life, because the two can bleed together. Another is I was a student for like over a decade. I was a college student and a grad student. And as a student, you're kind of always thinking, always going. And I just can't keep doing that for the rest of my life. This is my job. This is my real life. And so I need to have time that I'm off, that I'm with my family, that I'm on my own. And I'm a night owl, naturally. I try to push myself to be on kind of a normal person morning schedule. But if I start working at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I could easily keep working until midnight, 1 o'clock. And that's my natural schedule. And that doesn't work well when the rest of my life is structured for me to get up at 7 o'clock the next morning. I just won't wind down. So part of it is me, there's a lot of reasons I'm like that with email. Now, one thing I've noticed is that when students hear me say that, you often hear, don't email me in the evenings or weekends. I don't care when you email me, because the magic is I don't really see it. It doesn't make noise on my phone. It doesn't, sometimes I have it come up, but if I'm on vacation or whatever, I'll just turn off the notifications completely. So it's just there whenever I get to it. It's like mailing me a letter. I don't care when you mail it. So send me your email whenever it's convenient for you, but understand that, sometimes you're going to get a response in 5 minutes. That happens reasonably often. Other times, especially if you email me Friday at 8 o'clock in the evening, you might not get a response until Monday or Tuesday. If it's been 2 business days, so Monday through Friday, and you haven't gotten a response from me and you have I'm just kind of MIA, send me another one. Be polite, just say I'm just checking in, checking if you got my email. But my inbox might, I'm pretty good usually about managing my email, but sometimes my inbox eats things. Make sure you include the course number. Let me know that you're in the online class so that because I might be teaching multiple writing and psych and I might be very confused. And I'll see your name and I'll know that you're mine somehow, but I won't really remember usually how you're mine. So make sure you tell me your course number every time, and make it clear. Write your full name at the bottom. Sometimes Caldwell doesn't, some people's email doesn't show their name for whatever reason. And these are just good general professional development. How do you write an email? If you have lots of different questions, it's helpful to break those up into different emails with different subject lines that tell me something about what the question is. If it's something like, when is something due? I'm going to tell you to look at the syllabus or look at Blackboard, because usually that's what I'm going to have to do too. I teach multiple classes, just like you're taking multiple classes. And I don't say this to be really rude. It's because I want you to be aware that you're taking up my time for something that's going to take me just as long to do as it would take you to do. And I really want to encourage you, I want to incentivize you to look for your own answers to things first. So always check to see if your question is answered already online or in the syllabus. Don't submit assignments through email. Do come to office hours. I love office hours. I love talking with students. You can come in person. You can arrange to meet with me online. It's helpful if you want a virtual meeting, even if it's during normal office hours, it's helpful to let me know the day before. I often will bring my personal laptop to work that day so that I can, it's just sometimes easier to work than my work laptop for virtual meetings. But I love virtual meetings. I have some software that makes it really nice. We can share a screen. We can look at the same document. It works pretty well, actually, especially for working on papers. You can go to my booking website. You can see it opens Chrome because I use Chrome for everything but Blackboard like a normal person. And you can see it'll tell you if there's any changes to office hours for any reasons. And it shows no availability because I don't think I have my spring office hours in yet. But it'll show you what's available. You just click on it. It's really easy to use. Or you can email me and tell me you want a specific time, but honestly, the website is the easiest way. You don't have to have an appointment for office hours. If you want to meet outside office hours, email me as soon as possible. It can take a week or so for me to find a convenient time outside of office hours. So don't email me and assume that you'll just be able to meet with me the next day. Even if I'm on campus, remember how I just said that I set aside specific grading times? Well, if I know that everybody needs me, if I know your class needs grades back, and I have a bunch of students stopping by my office, even though I'm in my office, I need to be doing the grading. So just because I'm in my office doesn't mean I'm holding office hours or available for office hours. I'm also not on campus all the time. Let's see, evaluation and grading. So here's the grading scale. I do my courses out of 1,000 points whenever possible because I think it makes the math really easy. And so I can even tell you how many points can you lose, assuming that it's 1,000 points total. And so, as I said, all assignments, so the first 7 days are 50%. For days 8 through 14, it's 25%, and nothing after 2 weeks. And I talk about why. And unexpected things happen. People get sick. You might get sick. A family member might get sick. Your car might break down. Your boss might pressure you into staying late. Try to get it done early because these things happen. And I have my final cutoff of midnight on Sunday. So that gives you a couple days that you could turn in your final paper late and still be okay. You can look here. So your discussions, each individual discussion is only worth about 6 points, which feels pretty puny. But when you look at the total discussions, it's almost a quarter of your grade. And discussions are a great place where when I see people really making an effort and really engaging, maybe doing more posts than they need to, I'll slip you some bonus points too. I'm a big fan of bonus points for extra effort. And then the assignment, so the APA quizzes are 80 points. Again, you can take them as many times as you want. You get to see the answers. You should get most of these points. There's also 2 bonus ones you can do for 10 points each. And then most of the writing assignments, you have your APA workbook that you're working on. You'll do some peer reviews. You'll actually work on your paper. You'll do drafts and revisions. But you'll also do pre-writing assignments, so article notes and working on a reference list and a lot of outlining. Everything gets an outline so that I can make sure you've got the ideas set before you go in and try to write, to try to separate those 2 pieces of writing. One piece is having the ideas, putting your thoughts together. The other piece is putting them clearly in writing. So discussions, there's different types, and they will, they'll kind of explain themselves. But typically, you make 1 post by Wednesday, and that's when it's marked as due in Blackboard because that's the earliest one. And then that makes sure everybody has something up. And then by Sunday, you'll make 2 responses to what other people. So you're going to do 3 posts total for each discussion assignment. Most of those are going to happen within your small group. So instead of having to read 15 or 20 people's posts and responses, you'll read 5 or 6 people's posts and responses, which also keeps it manageable. The first 2 weeks, you'll have 4 discussions. After that, you'll have 6 discussions. But most of them have to do with either the reading or with peer reviewing each other's work. So it's all very applied. There's not a lot of fluff. There's a lot of assignments, but I honestly believe there's not a lot of true fluff in this course. Everything is meant to move you forward. So assignments, this is self-guided. So obviously it's an online course, so it's even more self-guided. But really, no matter how much structure and how many instructions and how many templates I give, if you're not going to do the work, it's just not going to get done. Your paper's not going to be good. You're going to get a terrible score, and you'll probably see me again another semester. You're going to write a paper using 4 to 5 peer-reviewed articles, and actually they're empirical articles. There's not a strict page limit for this, but for most people it works out to be about 4 to 5 pages of your actual paper, and then you also have a title page, an abstract, and a reference page. So around 7 to 8 pages is what most papers turn out to be. I care more about the depth and having all the sections in there. Your proposal will probably be a little, when you transform it into a research proposal, that'll probably add 2 to 3 pages. Maybe 1, I guess it depends. It just depends how yours turns out. 1 to 2 pages maybe is more accurate. Everything needs to be Word or PDF. And then I describe a little bit more about those 4 categories that I talked about already. And then you'll do 10 quizzes that you can take as many times as you want. You can see the answers after you take it. This says you cannot view correct answers until after the due date. I don't remember exactly how I set it up in Blackboard, but either way, you can take it as many times as you want. And then it gets to general academic policies, including cheating. There's not a lot of opportunities for cheating per se. You don't have to do your own data, so that fabricating doesn't apply as much. Plagiarism applies quite a bit. Let me take a moment to read the policy. The unacknowledged, undocumented presentation of words or ideas which are the intellectual property of another as one's own. So that includes direct quotation, that is, even a few of the exact words of a source must be indicated by the use of quotation marks or indentation of the text and be properly documented. So for me, I count 7 words, or more than 7 words. That's the, now that's kind of an arbitrary number, meaning it's kind of just picked out of the air. I still recommend, just for learning about plagiarism, the Indiana University plagiarism tutorial. I don't use it. They have a certificate that I don't require anymore, but they used more than 7 words as a guideline. So that's kind of the guideline I've developed just to be consistent. So 2 or 3 words is fine. I can't handle this sun anymore. So 2 or 3 words is fine. Much more than that gets to be pretty problematic. Passages which parallel the thought of expression or expression of the source, even without using the same words, must be properly documented. So this kind of gets at 2 pieces. One piece is what's called plagiarism, or what's called paraphrasing plagiarism. And that, so one piece of it is using the idea without citing it. A lot of students seem to think that you only need to cite direct quotes. Quotes are different. They get their own special kind of citation. Anytime you're using an idea from another source, you need to cite it. And actually, I require quite a few citations. I require at least 2 citations in each paragraph for most of the paper. It varies by section. I'll walk you through it. And so just using the idea without saying where you got the idea, even if you completely reworded it, that's plagiarism. There's also plagiarism where you change the words slightly, so you're not using those identical words, but you're using the same sentence structure. You're not really changing how the idea is being said. That's a problem also. And so there's specifically every week you have a chance to get feedback from your peers, and I'll pop through those too. I may be giving some of the feedback about, I'm having trouble paraphrasing this. Can you help me? Another one is multiple submission. So if you have submitted a paper for another class, you can't submit it for this class. Similarly, you can't submit this paper for another class later. If you're doing papers on similar topics, you have to make sure that you get different sources and say something different for each paper. Because part of what you're getting credit for in the course is creating this assignment for this course. Accessibility, if you have any sort of documented disability, talk with the disability office, the Office of Disability Services. If you had some sort of accommodations in high school, it's worth talking with them to see if you can get those same accommodations here. I don't have any timed tests in this course, and I can't think of anything where you would get extended time, because if you have issues with time, you probably wouldn't take the online version. So I don't think there's anything that you would need special accommodations for. This course is already meant to be accommodating to individuals with visual or auditory impairments. But it's good to know in general. And then it talks about recording. Again, it's an online class, so it's a little different. Everything's already recorded for you. If you have any questions about the syllabus, please let me know. I have sort of a brief schedule here. Honestly, the checklist, let me show you where the checklist is in the Blackboard. Let's see. Oh, I have 2 places. You can go to weekly modules, and you can find it here. And again, I have it as a Word file right now. I might put it up as a PDF instead so that you don't have to download it. But this will take you through every single week, and I think every week fits on a page, and it'll tell you everything you have to do. And it shows due dates for things. Generally, I'm going to recommend that you do all the readings and watch all the videos and then go through. Although, like I said, it's good to have things open next to you while you're doing these while you're watching the videos. But this is your best bet for tracking all of your assignments. If you have any other questions about the syllabus, about what's required, send me an email. You can also call me during office hours. I'm in my office. This is my office phone number. I'll always be a little startled that my phone is ringing, but that's good. That's fine. Or you can arrange to meet with me virtually. Talk to you later. Bye.